Hi, Darlene, Temecula. I love it. Welcome. We're glad you're here. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. We'll talk a little bit about who this training's for, what we're going to be learning and different things, and just jump right into it. So you're in the right place if you're curious about what intuition is. If you want to know how your intuition speaks to you personally. Maybe if you've been in a toxic relationship or environment and you've had a little bit of distrust for your intuition from that experience. Or maybe if you want to know how to strengthen your intuition. So during this workshop, we'll go ahead and talk about what intuition is, the difference between your intuition and your thoughts, and the unique way that your intuition speaks to you. And we'll go ahead and make sure that you have some actionable tips and tools for hearing and strengthening your intuition by the time we're done, because I want you guys to be able to continue on with this after we're done here today. So if you're anybody who has been in a toxic relationship or environment and you now feel like you can't trust your intuition, I mean, how would you have ended up in such a crappy situation if your intuition was speaking to you, right? Maybe your intuition should have spoken up a little bit more. Maybe you've been going through life without any understanding of what intuition is, and you might have had some suspicions that something was your intuition, but you don't really know. Or perhaps you know what intuition is, but you wonder and second guess yourself if it's just your own thoughts, or is this my intuition? If any of those sound like you, then you're in the right place. And I'm here to tell you that there's nothing wrong with you, that you're not broken. Your intuition is not broken. Your intuition hasn't been leading you astray. You've just never been really shown how your intuition speaks to you personally and how to listen to it and trust it. And so that's why we're here. Once we're done with the workshop, you'll be able to more easily identify when your intuition is speaking to you, because you'll know the language in which your intuition speaks. And you'll have exercises to strengthen your intuition and increase your trust in it, because we'll talk about how you can experience this more. Because of this, you'll be able to be more confident in your decisions, knowing that you are being guided towards your greatest good. So now we've gone over what our hour together is going to look like. Some of you might be wondering who the heck I am. Maybe you found me on social media having fun and pumping you up, or maybe you heard about me on a podcast, but you don't know that much about me. So I'd like to share just a little bit. I'm the oldest of I'm the oldest of 7 children, and I am a cycle breaker. I am choosing to create a family that doesn't include abuse. And my husband and I have 3 children together, and I have ADHD, and I have 3 kids that are neurodivergent. So it's loads of fun in our home. My husband and I were both born and raised in a high demand religion and really had built our entire lives around that. And we decided to step away a few years ago. And so that's been really life-changing for us as we've shifted and had to learn how to grow in different ways and reestablish our foundation after having that kind of just crumble underneath of us. And definitely has been a good exercise for me in learning to trust my intuition, as I've had to listen to myself and trust myself over the voices of all of the people who I were told were supposed to be the authority in my life. I'm also a Step Into Your Moxie facilitator, and we will be using exercises from that program today, which was created by Alexia Vernon, who's amazing. I am a life coach, and I love helping others discover who they truly are and fall in love with that person and feel comfortable and confident showing up unapologetically as that badass person. I'm also a speaker, and I love to educate and encourage audiences on the necessity of vocal empowerment. And at the end of class, I'd love to just briefly share with you how we can work together if you find the content of this workshop to be helpful. And I'll just give you an opportunity to be able to do that. So I'd like for you to go ahead and unmute yourself and share with me what are 1 or 2 words that come to mind when somebody says the word intuition or starts talking about intuition.
The little voice, like the little voice in your head. I always think of like, you know, the one that you kind of beat down, but it's typically always right.
Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie and Erica.
I would say a feeling.
Feeling. Yeah.
Like the drop from my head to like my heart and my gut.
Perfect. Thank you.
I always call it my spidey senses.
Spidey senses.
Spidey
I
senses.
love that. So there's lots of different words that people use for intuition. Some people call it your gut. Some people call it your knowing. Some people call it God, the universe, a higher power. I like to call it my higher self or my own higher knowing. So I'll probably refer to it that way here and there throughout the hour together. But if that doesn't feel really in alignment, then I want you to just in your head replace it with whatever feels in alignment for you. So if I'm talking about your higher self and that doesn't feel the most in alignment for you and the way that you experience it, call it your gut, call it Jiminy Cricket, call it your spidey senses, whatever is in alignment for you. That's where I want your little brain to just take that. So intuition is your ability to know things based on feelings without cognitive reasoning. So it's your ability to just know. So everything that you guys said is right on. Intuition is not a mindset or a skill set that you have or you don't have. We all have the capacity to be intuitive, even if events in our lives have made us mistrust or fail to recognize our intuition. So it's important that we develop practices that make it easier to recognize when our intuition is speaking to us and to forgive ourselves for the times when we didn't hear our intuition or act on it. I'd like to share a story of a time that's probably one of the most powerful experiences that I have had with intuition. I had a person who had been in my life and they had caused harm. They really, really hurt me. And it had been years and years ago. And so I had disconnected from this person. We're no longer Facebook friends, didn't have a phone number or email anymore. I'd gotten rid of all of that, moved on, didn't really think about them. But then all of a sudden this person just kept coming to my mind. And not in a reminiscent, like, oh, I remember the good times that we had, and not thinking of the harm that they had done to me, but just on my mind. But because this person had caused me harm, I didn't really want to be in my brain. And so, like Jamie was said, I was pushing that down and pushing that away. I was like, nope, no, thank you. But it was quite persistent. And with this person coming into my mind was also the feeling that they were not okay and something was not okay. And again, like my logical reasoning cognitive self was, that's not my problem. That person hurt me. They're not in my life anymore. I don't need to worry about them. I'm sure that they're fine. But for some reason, it would not go away. And so I decided to listen to this intuitive pull, but I also wanted to hold my boundaries and keep myself feeling safe. And so what I did was I reached out to this person's sister who I was still connected with. And I just sent a message and I was like, hey, I know this is a little random and I hope you don't feel super awkward, because her and I hadn't talked in years either. I was like, but I just keep having so-and-so come to my mind. and the feeling that maybe they're not doing so well. So I just wanted to let you know so that maybe you could check in and see how they're doing. And she responded by saying, yeah, they've been having a really hard time. They actually have been really, really suicidal lately and just not doing okay. And so I said, well, can you just let them know that whatever is out there, God, universe, divine, wants them to know that they're loved? Because that's what I kept feeling. Because in my head, I was like, well, I told her and she already knew. Like, why did I need to contact her if she already knew that this person was really struggling? And then it came to me that maybe they just needed to know from some source where it would be completely undeniable that they were loved, because there was no way for me to have any idea that they were not doing well. That situation, this experience really helped me to know that listening to your intuition does not always come easy. Sometimes it's things that we want to say no to, but that when we trust it, good things can happen. And so the way that I experienced intuition is often like this. It's often a thought. There'll be times where I'll think of a person and I'll shoot them a text and they'll be like, oh, I was just thinking about you and hoping that we could reconnect soon. Little things like that. And that is how my intuition speaks to me. So I would like for each of you to know how your intuition speaks to you. So if you've got your paper and your little notebook, I'd love for you to grab that. And we're going to go ahead and on one side, instead of numbering, you're going to letter it. So you're going to write the letters from A to J on your paper and just leave enough space next to each letter to write yes or no. Okay, so we'll let this be a little bit of an exercise in trusting your intuition as well. If you're a person who likes to overthink things, I invite you to take a moment and just go with the first thought that comes to mind and don't overthink this. I'm not asking every specific situation. I'm just asking generally, most of the time, yes or no to these questions and just go with what comes up for you, okay? So we're going to start with, when you enter a room, are you usually able to identify the attitude of the people in it? For example, kind, curious, eager, disinterested, or hostile? Yes or no? When you meet someone for the first time, is your instinct about whether she, he, they are trustworthy, a person of integrity, usually accurate? Do you make life decisions against the advice of experts or loved ones because you feel deep within that there is a better answer for you?
I'm so sorry. ADHD moment. I was going to message Angela and let her know that we're just answering yes or no, because I know she popped in from the Discord. And then I totally missed your last question because ADHD brain. Do you mind repeating that one more time?
Oh, in fact, Angela, go ahead and number on a paper from A to J, and I'll read the first couple really quickly and just write yes or no, generally the majority of the time, whether this applies to you, yes or no. When you enter a room, are you usually able to identify the attitude of the people in it? Curious, eager, disinterested, hostile, kind? When you meet someone for the first time, is your instinct about whether she, he, or they is trustworthy and a person of integrity usually accurate? Do you make life decisions against the advice of experts or loved ones because you feel deep within that there is a better answer for you? Okay. D, do you know that the phone is about to ring just before it does? E, do you know who is about to call you just before they do? F, do you know where a lost item has been hiding? G, do you wake up in the morning clear about an answer that prior to sleeping had you stuck? H, do you have visions of upcoming events, good or bad, before they happen, that prove to be accurate? Do you meet the exact person you need to connect with in order to take action on a big idea or project? J, do you see signs, images, numbers, words, or patterns that illuminate what you are supposed to say, how you are supposed to take action, and what, even if it's outside of your control, is about to transpire? Okay, so let's look at A, B, and C. If you answered yes to these, your intuition speaks to you kinesthetically. This means that you feel your body's knowing. You may get a swirly feeling in your stomach, or even feel as if a cat is tickling your chest with its whiskers, or perhaps you feel a subtle shift in weight. You feel pulled forward when your body is indicating a yes to you, or conversely, you may feel your body being pulled backwards when your intuition is signaling a no or to stop. To letters D, E, and F, if you answered yes here, at least one of the ways, because none of these categories is mutually exclusive, that you hear your intuition is through cognitive awareness. In other words, you have strong hunches or aha moments. You just know things and you are right about them, whether or not you want to be. The experience that I shared falls under this cognitive intuition. All right, for G, H, I, and J, if you answered yes, you experience intuition experientially. You're in the right place at the right time. You see what you are supposed to see in order to know what is coming, and or you experience coincidences that likely give you goosebumps because in hindsight, they make so much sense. So I'd love if anybody wants to share to hear which ways your intuition speaks to you the most.
I'm sorry, Tarina, will you say G through J is experience intuition through what?
That was experiential intuition. So through your experiences, you're in the right place at the right time. You see things that you're supposed to see in order to know what's coming. So you get, it's a coincidence, like, oh, that was a happy coincidence.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mine was very experiential, and it was so funny because before you mentioned the goosebumps thing, I was in the chat when you were talking about the story. I'm like, I have goosebumps, and I'm just like, I said yes to every one of those last four. So that's where I lean towards.
I love that. I did think of that when I was mentioning goosebumps, that you had just said that in the chat.
Yeah.
I had yeses kind of throughout, but definitely more so experiential. I've actually noticed a lot lately that like there's so many like different situations in my life that keep repeating themselves, and like I keep having the same dreams. Like I've had recurring dreams my whole life, and yeah, definitely the last one. Right.
Thank you for sharing that. So how do we know if you're having reoccurring thoughts or reoccurring dreams? Like, how do we know if this is our intuition speaking to us or if this is our intuition? This is something that can be really hard to identify. And so I'd like to talk just briefly about what your thoughts are and what your intuition is and the purposes that they serve. So your thoughts are cognitive reasoning. It's thinking through things, oftentimes overthinking. This might feel or look like anxiety, fear, being rushed, second guessing, a lot of chatter in your brain, and questioning. Your thoughts have a job, and their job is to protect you and solve problems. Your intuition is your own higher knowing. And so this can feel or look like peace, calm, a solid knowing, confidence, and quietness. Your intuition is a tool, and you can access this for guidance and direction. So your thoughts have a job, your intuition is a tool. And so that's how we can kind of know the difference is what is happening. Like, is it being used to think about something, or is it just kind of there? What are the feelings that are accompanying it? Like Nikki talked about, intuition is a feeling. So if you have a thought that keeps coming to you, but you're feeling really anxious about it, those are your thoughts, because your knowing brings in a sense of peace and calm. So even if it's something that might be a little bit scary, there's still going to be a sense of peace about it. It can be accompanied with a little bit of apprehension, but you're going to feel that peace because that is where you're supposed to be headed. So how can we strengthen and start to trust our intuition? We can start by acknowledging when it's communicating with you and start to distinguish when you're getting that gut instinct and when you're in your thoughts. So if you're talking to somebody and they say something and that is exactly what you needed to hear, and all of a sudden you get goosebumps, take a moment and just acknowledge within yourself, like, oh, my intuition is talking to me. And just being able to see that more frequently in your life will help you. If you're going through a situation and you just feel deep down that this person is someone that you need to have in your life, take a moment and pause and sit in that and know, this is my intuition talking to me. And I don't know why, but I know that this person is somebody that I need to try and get to know a little bit better. If you are having a situation and you just feel like that warmth in your heart, I don't know if you guys have ever had that, where it just kind of in your chest, you just feel that warmness. That's your intuition speaking to you. And so take a moment and just know, like, okay, my intuition's talking to me right now. And so, so my oldest was like on the cusp of being delayed with his speech. And the pediatrician was like, okay, I want you to really pay attention and see what words he has, because at his 12-month appointment, he didn't have any words. And by that point, they should have a few. And so I really started to listen to him. And when I really started to listen, I heard that these sounds that I just heard were actually words. When I was looking and listening to the situation that we were in, he wasn't clearly saying drink, but he was saying drink. I just had to listen to hear that. And so once I started to really listen to him and the way that he was talking, I was hearing the words that he was saying. They just weren't fully formed adult words yet. It was him. So as I then became more in tune to him and the way that he was communicating, I started to hear the words that he was saying. And so just like that situation with our intuition, the more you listen And the more you identify it, the easier it is to hear that. So another way that we can kind of strengthen and begin to trust our intuition is to practice. When you have that nudge, when you have that feeling, when there's that coincidence, don't brush it off. Don't be like, oh, it's not a big deal that I just thought about Lisa. No, send Lisa a text. Hey, I was just thinking about you. I'd love to hear how things are going and see what happens there. If you get a feeling that you're supposed to go somewhere, follow that. And then take a moment to just sit in what happened. So maybe you text Lisa and Lisa's fine and it's not a big deal, but maybe that conversation lit you up. Maybe it wasn't that you were supposed to reach out for her. Maybe your intuition was guiding you so that you could get something from that conversation. And so just take a moment to look at the situation where that intuitive pull led you and be grateful for it. Other things that you can do are exercises to help you tap into your intuition. Some things people love and some things don't really work for people. So just like you experience intuition in different languages, different exercises to help you tap into your intuition are going to work better for you than others. So here are some ideas, and know that if some of these are like annoying, then that's not the way that you're supposed to tap into your intuition. So you can journal. I personally find this to be really helpful. And I'm not talking journaling like today I went to the grocery store and the parking lot was super crowded and it was super annoying. And nope, that's not the journaling that I'm talking about for getting into your intuition. That kind of journaling can be helpful, yes. But when you want to tap into your journaling, it can start with a question of, what do I need to hear right now? And then just sit in that quiet and write whatever comes, and write with no judgment. Just let it be. Also, being in the right environment is helpful when you're trying to tap into your intuition. So find a space that's quiet. And sometimes life gets busy and hectic and crazy, and that can be hard to do, but you might need to tap into that intuition. So this might be a practice of mindfulness where you just clear your head and go within, because maybe externally is a little crazy and chaotic. I know as a mom with 3 young kids, this happens all the time in my house. It is like overwhelming loud, and I am in overload mode. There's no way my intuition's going to talk to me when I've got Alexa blazing 12-year-old music and my 6-year-old running around zooming cars everywhere. Like, whoo, that's not the perfect space for hearing my intuition. So sometimes I'll put my headphones in, I'll put my little earbuds in, and I'll turn on some, I like solo piano radio is what I'll look up, because it's just quiet and it helps me to quiet my brain and kind of drop into what I need to hear. So find a quiet space. Meditation is very similar, and meditation can be really hard when you start out. So I would say if it's hard for you, start with a guided meditation, and you can search up on YouTube meditation for, and whatever you're needing that day to try and help you tap into your intuition. Another good way is to really connect your body, especially if you're a person who your intuition speaks to you through your body. So do some breathing exercises. It's really helpful to connect your body and your breath. This helps us to slow down and get connected. And especially when your body is the biggest way that you experience your intuition, this is going to be important for you. And so something that can be really helpful for coming into your body and out of a higher, possibly dysregulated state is to make sure that your exhale is longer than your inhale. So there's so many different breathing exercises and techniques that are out there. But when you make sure to exhale longer than your inhale, that sends a message to your body and your brain that you're safe and that everything's okay. And so that's a good way to help bring in your intuition because you're feeling safe. Another way is muscle testing. And this is something that could be a whole workshop on its own. But basically, it's pretty simple. You ask your body a question, and you could hold your arm out and have somebody else tap it. And if it stays strong, the answer is yes. And if it drops real easily, the answer is no. And with that, you're probably going to want to ask your intuition yes or no questions. You're not going to be able to hear what your life purpose is with that. So yes or no question is going to be better for that one. Another way that some people can be spoken to through their intuition is like swinging a pendulum, which is similar to the muscle testing where you're asking yes or no questions, or pulling oracle cards where it might bring a message. And some days you might do that and it's nice to hear, but it doesn't quite spark that like, ooh, this was what I needed today. But maybe you pull out that card and it's exactly what you needed to hear. Another way is to kind of let your body be your guide. So you stand and you relax and let your body relax and ask that yes or no question. And if you feel a pull forward, that can be more of a yes. Or if you feel your body kind of falling backwards, that's more of a no. And so you can definitely use your intuition to try and discover answers to questions or even pull out questions that need to be answered. But a lot of times when you're starting out, it can be really helpful to keep it simple. And when you're wanting to start to strengthen and trust your intuition, start with yes or no questions. That is a good tool to use to help you really feel like you're getting what you need. And this last one is important and maybe the hardest one. I think it's probably been the hardest for me, is to forgive yourself for the times that you didn't hear or act on your intuition. So if you feel like maybe your relationship with your intuition has been damaged because of situations in the past, just like a relationship with a person, you need to heal that. And the best way to heal that is to be able to forgive yourself for the times that you didn't hear or act on your intuition. And so maybe you're in situations or environments or relationships where when you think about intuition, you think, I should have known better. My intuition should have alerted me to this or should have helped me get out of this. Those are the ones that you need to take a moment and maybe analyze. Did your intuition speak to you? If you feel like if you felt like my intuition doesn't even talk to me and I can't trust it, I can't hear it. Like maybe sit and think, like truly think about it. What are there moments where your intuition spoke to you and maybe you just didn't ignore it or you just didn't listen to it? And if the answer is yes, which I have a feeling it probably is, then take a moment to forgive yourself. To remember that in any moment, we all are doing the best that we can. And when we know better, we do better. And after today, you're going to know better about your intuition. And so you're going to be able to do better. So this is also one of the reasons why I love intuition and feel like it's so important, is because when you really develop trust with your intuition, you're able to start unhooking from all the messages that we get from other people and the judgments of other people. Because your intuition is going to come in and it's going to tell you the truth, that you are good, that you're whole, that you are perfect in your human imperfection, and that you are strong and capable. And that's another reason why I think it's so good and important for us to really get to be in touch with and trust and know our intuition. So I would love to open it up if anybody has any questions or any comments they want to share. To go ahead and hop on and ask those. I will start with Rachel in the chat had asked, where do you think our intuition comes from? And we had kind of touched on this a little bit at the beginning in talking about the different names that people use for intuition. Sometimes people will call it their gut. Some people call it God or the universe. Some people, like me, like to refer to it as their own higher knowing. And I think for me, I feel like it's my higher self. It's that part of my brain that I can't access that has all of the experience of my life, all the experiences I've had with people, all of the books that I've read, all of the conversations that I've been a part at. They're all there, and my consciousness can't access those. But my intuition can. And so I think for me, that's where that's coming from. But I do think that's a little bit of a personal question too. Like, do you feel like there is something greater than us out there, and that's what is giving you these intuitive nods and hunches? And if you do, then maybe that's what you feel like intuition is and where it comes from. So just like you personally have to come to a space of what feels comfortable for you to call your intuition, you also can sit and reflect with, where does my intuition come from? And that can be a really great exercise for your stream of consciousness journaling. Just ask that question in a quiet space and sit with it and see what comes. So, Rachel, I hope that answered your question. I know it wasn't like a textbook, this is what intuition is answer. But if you have any other questions, feel free. Oh, good. Thank you. And if anybody else has any other questions, I'd love for you to pop on and maybe ask those, or any comments. You are welcome to share maybe what your greatest aha or biggest takeaway will be from the day.
I just want to say you shared so much like actionable tips that I'm going to take with me. Understanding tuition is such a it's not like a black and white concept, it's a very gray concept. So I came into here like excited but not having any idea what I'm getting myself into, and now I'm like, holy shit, I've got some things to work on and like tips of how to do that. So I just want to say thank you. This has been awesome.
I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to add that I love that you broke it down into how we can hear our intuition the best. That's going to be a game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, that definitely was a game changer for me, because I knew I had intuition, and like I knew I experienced it cognitively, but knowing what the other ways are also helped me to be able to see when it does speak to me in those other ways, because those are not as strong for me. But now that I know what those are, I can see those as well, because it was so easy for me to know what my intuition was saying when it was speaking the way that I listen to easily. But the other ways, that really helps me to experience it better too.
Yeah.
Rachel shared in the chat, when I feel my intuition speaking to me, it's helpful to take some time to journal about why I think my intuition is pulling me in a certain direction or telling me something. When I spend time digging into the why behind it, it gains so much more insight. Thank you. I love that beautiful share, Rachel. Okay, so if anybody else, is there last call? Anybody else want to share? Okay.
So right now I'm at work, but I did have a question. So like my brain is always on 24/7, even when I'm sleeping. So like how, and I know you said about meditation, so I have a really hard time meditating because it's just nonstop. Do you suggest like anything other than meditation? Like I'll go for a walk, I'll read a book, I'll really try to sit in silence, but that never happens ever. So, you know, like, because I really want to be connected to my intuition, but I'm trying to battle my mind, like trying to switch my mind off. so that I can dig deeper?
I love that question. And part of the reason why I love it so much is it's so relatable to me, especially as somebody with ADHD. My brain
Mm-hmm.
always going. And so I want you to know that meditation is not just sitting on a pillow with your eyes closed going, oh, that's one way that we can meditate. Yes. Going for a walk can be meditation.
Okay.
That can be how you meditate. You can get in a meditative state when you're driving. Sometimes if you have a brain that's always on the go, it needs something else to focus on that doesn't require your attention to be able to let you access that space.
Right.
So driving can be a good way to do that because you're focused on the things that are required to drive, but you've done that so much that you're not constant. It's not like when you were 16 and learning how to drive and you're like, okay, 10 and 2. Okay, rear view mirror, side mirror. Okay, blinker. Oh wait, is my seat too close? Like when you were first learning to drive, you really had to think about that. And now it's second nature. But your brain is still doing the work of remembering 10 and 2, check the mirrors. Okay, make sure I got my blinker on. Your brain is still doing that, but it's second nature to you now. And so that can allow you to access that like empty space where your intuition, that quiet space where your intuition come in.
Okay.
So don't think that you have to sit and just be silent to meditate. Meditation can be active. It can be driving. It can be going for a walk. It can be sitting in your back porch, like looking around
Right.
and just being present.
Okay.
So maybe you can look up and do a little Google search on active meditation versus like passive quiet meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And you could also try doing maybe like a 5-10 minute guided meditation that just kind of lets your brain be still a little bit. And then after that, jump into journaling.
Okay.
So
Thank
maybe
you
your
so
intuition isn't going to come just in that quiet meditative space. Maybe it'll
Right.
come right after.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I see in the chat, Darlene says, I have a hard time actually meditating too. So I go for walks. I have a dance party or just stand outside in the sun on the grass barefoot. And that helps me really check back with myself. Yes. Thank you, Darlene. I love that. Yeah. Thank you for asking that, Nikki. I think that that was a really helpful question for many of us here. Oh, yes. Erica, yoga with Adrienne's meditation videos are awesome. That's a great resource. Thank you for sharing that. So I would like to end today with a little like guided visualization that we could do. And this can be something that you can carry on after we go ahead and say goodbye if you choose to, or you just let it be what it is in this moment. But we're going to do a little meditation. So if you're in a space where you can, I would invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and just take a couple of deep breaths. Really let your breath fill your whole chest. And then when you exhale, completely empty your lungs. Okay, now I want you to imagine waking up after a full night's sleep. You're still in bed, nice and cozy under the covers. You're leisurely watching the sun come through the window. You close your eyes to allow the sun to warm your body and awaken all of you for the day ahead. Then the sun just floods your body. First, it moves through your toes, then up your legs, through your pelvis and your back. Next, up through your chest, back, and arms. It continues to make its way up through your throat and onto your face. Your whole body is warm and glowing now from the sun. As you sit with all this light, you realize a question is emerging for you. You can't fully make out its shape yet, You know it's an important question, so you don't rush it. You allow it to present itself when it's ready. So if a question came to your mind, feel free to go ahead and write that down in your journal. And it could be a throwaway question like, why am I thinking about cats right now? And that's okay. But it could be, what can I do to strengthen my intuition? And that can be a question that you can then sit with and answer. You can think about, what is the purpose of this question? It could be totally unrelated to intuition. It could have been a question about, what do I need to do? What's the next step in my business that I can be successful? It could be, what do I need to do with my child this evening so that they feel loved? It could be anything. So just think about what the purpose of the question might be. And based on how your intuition speaks to you, how can you be on the lookout for other feelings, signs, or coincidences that can help you carry forth with whatever this question illuminates? And how can you carve out time each day to squash fear-based self-talk and make space for your intuition to speak? I would invite you to take a little bit of time today to kind of sit with whatever you may have gained from what we shared today and think about one thing that you want to start doing to kind of work on strengthening your intuition and the trust and your relationship with that. There was lots of ideas given, and so that's why I say one. Because if you think, I'm going to do this, and oh, I loved this, and I'm going to do this, then chances are you're going to do nothing. But if you pick one thing to really work on for the next week, then you can go back and say, wow, that was really helpful for me. What else can I do now? So I want you to just pick one thing, whatever called to you the most, whatever felt the most in alignment with you, just focus on that one thing for the next week. And then you can go back and, if you feel like you want to, really work on some of the other things. I just want to share really quickly a little bit about the way that I work with my clients. I definitely pull in exercises like this and help you to learn different tools like how your intuition speaks to you so that you can feel empowered to live a life that feels authentic to you, so that you can make choices based on what your intuition is telling you, based on what your desires and your needs and wants truly are, and not based on what other people have told you you need to be doing. Because we get so many messages from all over the place about how we should look, how we should eat, how we should act, how we should have faith, how we should do business. And I'm here to tell you that none of those messages matter. The messages that matter are the ones that come from your intuition. And when you can get to a place where you feel comfortable making decisions and then following through with those without worrying about what the peanut gallery is saying, then it gives you so much emotional freedom. And so in my one-on-one coaching program, Authentically You, I help people to really discover who they are, establish a good self-care and self-love routine, and really feel comfortable with boundaries so that way they can show up authentically and comfortably and be able to just live life the way that they want to, regardless of what anybody thinks about that. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to my calendar in the chat. If anybody wants to schedule some time to just chat and learn any more about that, you are welcome to. And if you are catching this on the replay, that link is also on the bottom of on my website at the bottom of my story page. So you can find that there. Or you're always welcome to shoot me an email. Even if you're not interested in scheduling a call to find out about my program, I would love if you have any additional questions or want to share how things go for you as you focus on one thing moving forward, you can shoot me an email. It's Tarina@tarinamaldonado.com. And on my website, which is tarinamaldonado.com, you can find all of my social media there where I love to share fun and inspirational, educational content. So if you want to have fun with me on any of the socials, you can find me there. But I really want to just thank you all for being here. I value your time, and I know that time is a precious commodity. And so I'm so thankful that you chose to spend your time with me today. And I hope that you all can take some little nuggets with you moving forward. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Trina. That was great. Bye, you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Trina.
you, Trina. You did an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.